Over the last few years, there are concerns that the standard of driving tuition has steadily declined. I see this online with footage that's posted, comments that are mentioned on groups, and I see it firsthand with pupils that I take from other driving instructors. Why is this happening? And why aren't the DVSA doing more about it? In this video, I'm going to give my opinion on why the standard of tuition is dropping, why the DVSA isn't tackling it, and what this means for road safety. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you think this is as serious an issue as I do. I recently took a pupil on that was struggling with her mirror checks, and her last instructor had made no progress with her. When I found out she was a kinesthetic learner, this is someone that learns by doing, I adjusted. On a dual carriageway, I got her to observe a car that was about to overtake us and watch that car in the centre mirror until it disappeared. When it disappears, I asked her to check her right mirror. Suddenly, she understood the gap in her mirrors, and her checks became effective. What does this say about her previous instructor? They never even identified how she learns best. That's basic. And how many instructors out there are doing the same teaching, this one-size-fits-all approach, leaving their learners confused and struggling? To qualify as an approved driving instructor, it's not easy. You must pass 3 stages. Part 1 is the theory, Part 2 is the practical driving test, and Part 3 is the teaching skills. Each part gives you only 3 attempts, and if you fail those 3 attempts, you must wait 2 years before you can start again. Brutal. The biggest hurdle is Part 3. Back in my day, you went up and taught 2 mock lessons to your examiner, who then decided whether you were ready to go out into the world and teach properly. Nowadays, you take up one of your own pupils, and I do think personally that this is easier, although the pass rate back in my day was around 33%, and it's now 35%, so not a massive difference. So qualification is tough, but here's where things start to unravel. Cast your mind back to March 2020. Boris puts us in lockdown. Driving tests stopped overnight. When eventually restrictions were lifted, we were left with a huge backlog of people needing to do a driving test, one that still hasn't been cleared. The DVSA's top priority became reducing the waiting times. Their head, Loveday Ryder, was summoned to Parliament, to a transport committee, to explain to MPs what they were going to do to reduce the waiting times. Imagine the pressure. But notice what was missing. Pressure to raise standards. I haven't had a standards check since 2018. That's 7 years without any oversight. For instructors who don't train, who don't learn and improve, and don't even adapt to their pupils' learning styles, that means no one is holding them accountable. Now, here's something most people probably don't know. To train driving instructors, you don't need any special qualifications.
Say what?
All you need is to already be an instructor yourself. That's right, audit the official register of driving instructor trainers held by the DVSA is voluntary. No regulation, no mandatory training, nothing. So you get situations like this, where someone has been a driving instructor for 1.5 years and now decides they're ready to start training driving instructors. No, you're not. This is a complex job, and 1.5 years is nowhere near enough experience. There are excellent national trainers out there: Bob Morton, Ray Seagrave, Lee Sparry, Kit, Inspire Training, and these are cleaning up at the moment, cleaning up after poor driving instructor trainers, leaving their potential driving instructors failing tests, unsure where to go next, and feeling frustrated. But again, there's no DVSA oversight. Bad instruction doesn't just mean weaker skills. It breeds bad attitudes. This clip was sent in from Ray, one of our viewers, and this is an ADI caught on camera, hands off the wheel, sarcastically clapping because Ray hasn't sped up in a 40-mile-an-hour zone because he's about to turn right. As they go past, a blast of the horn and swerving, clearly the red mist descending. Another from not long ago, past man drive, overtaking on the left at speed and simply saying to his pupil, "We're doing nothing wrong." These are not isolated incidents. They are the result of instructors not buying into the highway code, not holding themselves to the same standards that they expect of their pupils, and sometimes even passing on bad habits. The DVSA has introduced triggers. If you trigger 3 or more of the triggers within a year, you will be called as a driving instructor to a standards check. On paper, it's a good idea, but estimates suggest that around 40 to 50% of driving instructors are already hitting those triggers. That could be 15 to 20,000 driving instructors that are failing their pupils. And the DVSA does not have the capacity to get through them all, not to even start. Why? Because their focus is bringing down the wait times, not tuition quality. And here's the final piece. The DVSA is largely self-funded, and the cost of a driving test hasn't risen since 2009.
You're kidding me, right?
Back then it was £62. Adjusted for inflation, that should be just under £100 today. With no increase, examiners are underpaid, retention is low, and resources are stretched thin. The result? No capacity. No capacity to properly regulate driving instructors and driving instructor trainers. The DVSA gets some things right. Triggers, for example, are a good idea. Unable to manage the booking system. Failure to pay staff properly. Not regulating instructor trainers, and not carrying out standards checks often enough. Ultimately, they are not focusing on what matters most. Until that happens, poor instructors and trainers will continue to slip through the net. The standard will keep falling. Make sure you subscribe, because in my next video, I will be talking about the DVSA and how their recent changes to the driving test are nothing more than a disguise. And it's why I believe the DVSA is not truly interested in road safety, but numbers. See you then.